we keep changing, improving it every year.
To be honest, I didn't expect that it's like that nice.
When a kite is really good, how do you make it better and better? How is that even possible?
The reason this year's Supermodel got such a huge step where, again, last year I thought I gave it all and the kite was going to be as good as it could ever get. Suddenly...
because it's so smooth.
The loops on the 10 was like...
The way the kite goes through the turn and even more important, out of the turn.
Definitely faster. Smooth.
There's a huge improvement.
I never had such an easy looping kite, so...
The way of turning that we never had on Supermodel before.
Very smooth transition from going in the turn, through the turn, out of the turn, and this gives you the confidence.
Hey everyone, thanks a lot for tuning into this brand new Reedin Talks. This one is going to be a very exciting one because we're going to be talking about Supermodel 2025. On the left-hand side is my business partner, Damien Girardin, and on the other side, on the right-hand side, we've got Ralf, Groesel, and I'm very excited to start this one and that you are part of it. I remember the first Supermodel you gave to me in my hands and I knew right away we were onto something. But this is almost 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago, and we've moved on, but we're still keeping that Supermodel identity. But what is that Supermodel identity?
I think the reason why it's so good is because you and I have been testing it in all kinds of conditions all the time. In all kinds of platforms, like you say, waveboard, twin tip, foil board. And we've pushed the level of the kite based on like the demand on all these different disciplines. So we got to a point where the kite is so versatile. And it's been done through, years of designing kites and working together, adjusting the bridles, working on thinking about the shape of the whole platform, the aspect ratio, everything has really been fine-tuned to be as good as it could be for you. And ultimately for everybody else, because you're really, like the guy that, and like some of the pros that only focus on one discipline, you do everything, which is what most kiters do, I'm assuming. Like a lot of people like to jump high, but if it's light wind, you're not jumping high, but you still kite, and that's what you do also. And so the kite really has that thing in it where it really performs for everybody in so many disciplines.
And that's exactly right. And that's, I think, why, the Supermodel is so successul. So Damien, what's new on the Supermodel 2025?
So technically what we've done, the shape's been changed. Like we said earlier, the trailing edge has been redesigned. I did battens on the trailing edge. We've also increased the amount of HTF. We have a HTF 3 in a way, where like the amount of that lighter, tighter weave material goes even higher up in the leading edge. And that was possible thanks to the new geometry of the bridles we did, where the kite has better hold under load, so we need a little less structure to hold the shape of the kite. And you can see when you fly that kite, it's a lot more solid in the air. So we get a little more twist out of the tighter weave material, which allows also for better turning. We got rid of the pulleys in the bridles, and that's also thanks to the new geometry of the bridles. In the past, our bridles felt like a fixed bridle, but when you pushed away all the way on your bar, you would use a little bit of the bridle to get that extra depower. Now with the new bridle positioning, we don't need that. We get the depower without getting it, so we have that direct feel. We also changed the bridle line quality to a SK99 quality bridle, so they're thinner, less draggy, more direct, so you have a kite that's also more direct. There's less stretch in the bridles, which is also something we learned from Hypermodel, which is same bridles in the Hypermodel.
But we keep changing, improving it every year. And how do you come up, like when a kite is really good, how do you make it better and better? How is that even possible?
I think it's funny, we just talked about earlier, like what's perfect, And then we make the kite perfect. We work as hard as we can until we launch it. Once we launch it, we think it's as good as you can get it. And then a few weeks later, suddenly we start having things where we're like, oh, these gotta be improved, these gotta be improved, these gotta be improved. But I think for this season, what really took a step ahead is that we had the chance and the privilege of working with Ralf on the Hypermodel. And everything we worked on the Hypermodel, Ralf was like, well, let's work together on Supermodel also. And then everything that we learned, that I learned, that we developed together on Hypermodel, we're like, well, let's put some of that in the shape of Supermodel. And so a lot of the reason this year's Supermodel got such a huge step where, again, last year I thought I gave it all and the kite was going to be as good as it could ever get. Suddenly, we introduced some of the, design, bridal design that Ralf and I worked on Hypermodel. We put that in Supermodel, and suddenly the kite gets that much better. And we have the way of turning that we never had on Supermodel before. That's closer to the new hypermodel.
How was it for you? Like Damien had been working on the supermodel for so many years. He has his way of designing, and you know that's his child, right? The supermodel.
Yeah.
How was it for you to, you know, look into Damien's files and be like, hey, how can we make this really good kite even better?
Yeah, first of all, it was a great challenge and not that easy because adapting to a certain style, a new style, I mean, I'm, let's say, new to the game of Reedin, was definitely super interesting and really for me a great challenge. And the very positive, or the first positive aspect is when I jumped to the original last year's supermodel, I really understood the sense of what you guys try to achieve. And I think that's the most important, you know, there was an immediate connection between what you think is good and I believe it's good, yeah, like in terms of also making a commercial product and so on. So as Damien said, like coming from two different directions, working on the hypermodel, then also for me, understanding how to work with the low V on the bar, which is a huge difference, which I never really done before, is definitely a game changer in the way I have to line up the kite itself. Yeah, and then I think with the supermodel, we just found some tweaks. Yeah, like really, I would say like it's not that you don't have to revolutionize everything in this regard, yeah, because the base is there and you have you guys out there knowing the product already so good, so you want to have an evolution of the product. And I think this year we pretty much nailed it with the supermodel. Like it's
I think you guys hit the nail on the head. And the thing that I love the most using the supermodel now is that it just became even easier. And it became, I think, the thing I love is when you ride and the gust hits you, you push the bar away, and you can really feel that the kite shoots forward, and you lose the gruntiness in the kite, which makes the comfort, like makes it even more comfortable to ride. And if a kite is comfortable to ride, your tricks become easier too, right?
Yeah.
But what is the main thing that made the kite
perform this way?
Perform that way, or make it even easier to push the bar away, and there's less power and it's easier to ride?
Maybe we have not the exact same answer to that question, but I think we can definitely agree on the fact that the fixed bridle, I think, is definitely one of the keys.
Well, not just fixed, but also the way we redid the whole geometry, like working on hyper. So the toe point is quite different than it was on supermodel from previous year. And that definitely explains a lot of what you're saying in terms of like the kite just shoots a little further forward. Clearly, that was a big reason for that. We also introduced the fiberglass battens and the trailing edge, which also helps hold the whole trailing edge better and helps the kite shoot a little forward, also helping the turns. And you can feel on new supermodel how the end of the turn is even smoother than it was. Like you start a loop and it just finishes even better. It almost feels like it's sliding through the loop, which is such a good feeling.
So what you're saying is that the battens that we've placed on the supermodel will make the overall canopy a lot more efficient, or and increase the turning, right?
Yeah. Well, it's basically, as Damien said, how the kite goes into the turn is not affected by the batten, but the way the kite goes through the turn, and even more important, out of the turn.
Yeah.
And this is like, there's a huge improvement.
And that's
the way it starts to catch, for example, after the loop, this is the acceleration, what you can really recognize. So this is a very smooth transition from going in the turn, through the turn, out of the turn. And this gives you the confidence. This is pretty much
and
what
that's
you
also
say.
something we've been hearing from quite some people that has flown the supermodel 2025, is that
I really love this guy.
Why?
Because it's so smooth. You feel like you ride butter, you know? Like you have butter in a knife. That's so sweet.
a quote that I've been hearing individually from people without their noting, it's butter smooth.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. Like you jump, that kite turns, goes into that loop, and it gives you a very consistent power. You always know where that kite is, and that way it gives you as a rider so much confidence to try new stuff and to eventually have more fun and get less scared. All right, that was it for the Reedin Talks. I want to thank Damien and Ralf for joining me on this epic talk. I hope you enjoyed watching our talk about the Supermodel 2025. If you're interested in buying one of our brand new kites, then go to our website, reedin.com, get it over there, or go to your local dealer, and I will see you on the water very soon. Thanks for watching. Later.